The Ramble On, talking media to death and diving into spoilers with Brendan.
And Nick, an autopsy for the sinners, an ascension for the saints of film and television. Alright, let's get into it.
Okay, Aladdin.
Alright, Ben, you want to take us in?
Sure. Alright, time to ramble about Aladdin. Time to vivisect this here movie.
Prince Ali.
And joining us this time is our friend Tom.
A boo-boo.
If you didn't watch the American recut, this is Tom. Say hi, Tom.
Hello, everyone. Proud to be here. Honored, thankful.
It's very prestigious.
Among the greats.
First thing I want to talk about, the new song that they wrote for this movie, apparently. It is a song by Princess Jasmine. It's called something along the lines
Empower Me or
of...
something.
I Will Not Be Silent.
Yeah.
Yeah, Empower
the
Me.
undertones of it. Yeah, Empower Me.
It,
also,
it's not great.
It's, it seems like Disney's sort of forced, like, oh, it's 2019, let's put this song in here. And
right.
Now, I would agree with you if they didn't water down Jasmine's character from the original cartoon. Because I was thinking about this, and I realized that she has much more presence, is much more in control of what's happening to her, and generally is more of a character in the original, like, 1990s cartoon than she was in this remake.
Really? See, that's... I think I'm at a disadvantage because I haven't seen that movie in 15, 20 years or something,
I'm just thinking about a few scenes I remember, and one of the big differences... Oh, sorry.
No, sorry, go.
So in the originals, you might remember when Jasmine's on the streets hanging out with Aladdin, there's a scene where, like, he goes over the roof and he, like, lowers down a plank so she can walk across, and then she jumps over it with her stick, right? In this one, he tells her, grab the stick and jump over, and then she's like, I'm too scared, I can't.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, and I think that's part of the whole... I think almost what makes that song more hollow is that you're exactly right. It's this sort of, like, half-assed...
It's telling us that she's empowered.
It's trying to, like, which I think is great. It's nice that they, like, in a way, but only if I agree, like, I agree, it should be, it should have had that original character kind of strength, and then sure, maybe amp it up a few notches, but...
But, so two things about that. One, some of it was just the writing. They just didn't give enough time for the Aladdin and Jasmine characters to fully develop, you know?
It definitely felt like it was one of those, like, it's an assumption that you just know the original, so it's like we can just skip all the actual. Let's just skip the real story building and.
That's a good point. They made that assumption.
Character building around there.
Yeah,
we don't need that.
And you had a second?
Now I'm all for female empowerment, but I feel like that was pandering. That just like Tom said, 2019 female empowerment. Let's throw that in there. In all of our 2019 movies, I don't know. Am I overthinking that?
No, I think it kind of came across as not so much pandering, but more that they were telling us that she's empowered instead of making her an actual interesting character. Which I've got a theory about what they did with her and what they're doing with all the female leads in these Disney movie remakes, which is they're making them all into Belle. Because in this movie, like, we're in the
Beauty and the Beast,
like,
right?
Exactly. Where in the original, she was kind of this real feisty character who does things impulsively. She just goes into the city because she wants to go into the city and rob people because she has fun doing it. In this one, she's a very bookish person. She reads a lot of things. She has a plan for her democracy, and she generally is not very active, doesn't like to go out, and is very sheltered, which is very much like Belle.
Yeah.
In Dumbo, we had a girl who was a scientist who's very well read, who doesn't really go out much, and so on. This just keeps happening to these female characters. They're all Belle.
Yeah.
It's an interesting point. I haven't seen Dumbo and stuff, but there's definitely, it seems like there's
a formula.
Yeah, and that that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, moving on then. Let's talk about the internet's favorite, Will Smith.
Yes, let's. Like we said in the American recut, he made the movie, surprisingly. He made the movie.
It was especially, I mean, honestly, so the movie starts, and I was like, the initial scenes, you see Will Smith with his family on the boat, and it started off so sort of cheesy, like, oh, what are we getting ourselves into?
I know, that threw me through a fucking loop.
And then when he comes up as the genie, now granted, it's one of those, it's quite the character to play up to because of Robin Williams, obviously. You got like a lot of...
course.
But it really comes alive. You fit into it. It was able to kind of fit his sort of like Will Smith sort of humor that I think we've come to expect from a lot of his characters.
He had most of the
but still be sort of like it was more unique. It was clearly a different character than I think other characters he's played. But
He's played a lot of characters.
It was great. Yeah.
I feel like if you know the history a little bit about Aladdin and how it came about, a lot of stories say that when they were making the story and coming up with it, it was basically largely written around Robin Williams as the genie. Like they basically started with him and then built a story around that. I feel like they tried to do something similar with this, where they kind of started with Will Smith as the point and then expanded outward. But where before Robin Williams had the large life personality and they had kind of these Disney animation tropes to fall back on, it worked well enough to where you didn't notice the slow scenes. Right. And this one, since it's live action and it has to kind of play by different rules, it doesn't get away with the same things the cartoon did.
It's a lot harder to carry the other characters, right? If it's a live action person and it's not as... Yeah, there's a lot less to fall back on.
Yeah, well, we don't get scenes like... the genie playing chess with an elephant because he's just having fun with it. We don't get to have the carpet kind of mean mugging at everyone. We just have to have the actual human characters do things to pay off on the live action stuff, which is arguably the weakest part of the movie in this case.
Well, I don't know. That choreography and some of the dances was awesome, but I mean,
we can get into that. That was great.
If you want to talk about the musical numbers, absolutely.
Yeah. Some of the music was pretty good. Like, surprisingly, Will Smith's "Friend Like Me" was
surprisingly. It was fantastic. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, it was good. When they came, so Prince Ali's coming in the city, they're doing their big kind of song as they come in. I thought that was pretty well done. I liked it.
I like that too.
Pretty well done, but I had memories of like the original show where like the genie's constantly changing shapes into different people in the audience or different things or different animals.
Yeah.
And this one doesn't have that same fun feel that the first one did. This one feels a little bit more pompous and like he's
toned down.
It definitely feels pompous. He's thrown. I mean, maybe he probably did this in the original movie too, but the just kind of throwing out the gold and stuff.
Which and then I think that what should have been this movie showstopper, A Whole New World, that one actually ended up falling short of the animated movie.
I think
because in the animated movie, as you might recall, they go through a couple of cities. They go to Greece. They go through Rome. They have some Disney references. They get thrown in the background for fun.
And they stop in China.
And they end up hanging out above China, just watching the Chinese fireworks go off.
Yeah,
it's a nice moment for Jasmine to see the whole world.
Yeah. Literally seeing the whole world.
Yeah, in this one they do a lap around the desert.
Yeah, it was the start. I think that was one of the first because that was what still pretty early in the movie-ish first act. Yeah, where it sort of you start to see some of the rushed almost parts. Like it starts to get into this like just rushed than it really should have been.
I feel like
really
for me, the place I felt was rushed was actually one of the earliest scenes, which is when Aladdin and Jasmine are running away, and he's singing his song that was a solo song before.
Right. Yeah.
But this time we've merged two scenes together, which is him meeting Jasmine on the streets and him having his introduction as a thief. They merge those scenes together, and both end up not feeling quite right.
That annoyed me. That annoyed me to no end. It just gave no way to introduce Aladdin properly.
What feels weird is they chose to merge those two scenes to save time, but then they have a few songs and a few scenes where they're very clearly buying time, such as with the next song I want to talk about, which is the actual showstopper that they chose. I don't know why. I Will Not Be Silent, which is a Jasmine-focused song where she sings about how she will not be silent in the face of tyranny, and how she will speak her mind when she's being oppressed.
Kudos to her.
The way it plays out, they actually do this full musical style where everything stops around her. She gets to enjoy the whole area around her as her dance floor, and she gets to stomp up to Jafar's face, yell at him, guards just appear around her or like fade away. And then we cut back to real time, and she's right back to where she left. And then there's a whole speech after that. It kills a good 5-7 minutes of the movie, which felt unnecessary, like they didn't know what to fill the movie with.
Yeah, and that's where some of the I don't know if it's the direction in some of these musical like the song parts of the movie, just the way that they carried out the scene, like you're saying, just felt very stilted, kind of odd.
Which it just struck me. I think that part of that might be that a lot of times in these song numbers, the background is doing a whole lot of things, but the actors aren't doing much.
No.
Like I'm thinking about it. Like during the Prince Ali song, he's just sitting on the elephant, He's not moving. He's not doing anything.
Well, so was Aladdin,
right.
but I mean, well, then again, Aladdin was doing some poses and doing more stuff. I don't know.
Which is a shame because I was expecting kind of like a Bollywood style, like really big musical numbers, like this weirdly overblown budget for songs and songs constantly. But instead, we kind of got these songs that are very downplayed, very still old Disney.
Yeah, it sort of like felt like a lot of the songs were just like it was just one of those things like we have to have this song in here. I guess we'll put it in this part of the script. Like, damn it.
I don't want to hear your crap out. It doesn't make sense. We need a new one.
The best example of these songs is Riff Raff Street Rat. That came up like twice, but more condensed.
That one was weird because they do it a few times as if it's a reprise of an earlier song, but they never sing the whole song.
Right. It's as if it's like trying to show the sort of different stages of his journey, right?
But he never sang the song.
It's not, yeah. But again, once again, it's like we sort of just threw that in there as an afterthought almost.
Now, granted, if we're going to keep score against other Disney movies, this is much better handled than it was in Dumbo. Like incidental music or like a lot of like just like other characters singing the important songs just by happenstance while stuff's going on. Yeah, this is much better than Dumbo was as far as songs.
Pink Outfit was terrifying. Full disclosure.
All right.
Characters.
Getting the characters, yeah. So we talked about Will Smith.
Will Smith. Let's talk about who else is the next most notable character in
Aladdin, of course. He's in the movie.
Jafar's character. I don't know.
For Jafar, people were exactly right about him. He does look too young. He doesn't look quite right. He doesn't have the right voice for it. And there's a scene in the movie where he becomes like a genie and becomes the big almighty genie. And it's just him like looking like terrifying Will Smith did.
Yeah.
And like it looks really bad. Like it looks like what we feared Will Smith would be.
Right. Yeah, it's not great. Pretty forgettable characters otherwise.
Jasmine,
actually, well, other than, I will say the Jasmine character, good overall, but Jasmine almost like overpowered like the Aladdin in this in some ways.
She did, because of the soundtrack she had.
I think that's part of it, and then she also got the spot. She got more scenes with her in it.
Yeah, which, wasn't necessarily a bad thing.
No.
But yes, this is a good character. The handmaiden thing, I don't remember. Did they have
she wasn't there.
A subplot like that in the original?
What I really thought was going to happen is when we had like the handmaid thing, I was thinking, oh, this is Romeo and Juliet. Is that just going to be there at the bottom, tugging up like Jasmine, wherefore art thou, Jasmine?
Get away!
The sweetest desert flowers.
Yeah, that was.
It felt very Romeo and Juliet, which you don't usually want in a modern movie.
No. But, so Tom made a good point. Aladdin was not really in that movie a whole lot, mainly because, and the movie's named after him. Shouldn't the main protagonist be in his own movie more?
Maybe it shouldn't have been. Maybe it should have been Jasmine.
Maybe it should have been Jasmine. That's it.
That would have been right, yeah.
I think that for the handmaiden to possibly explain that, I think that what they're trying to do is, you know how in movies they have an A and B plot, where the A plot is like what's actually happening, and the B plot is romance? I think they're giving a B plot to Genie.
Yeah.
For his romance subplot.
Yeah.
Which feels weird for a side character to have a B plot just for him.
It did.
Yeah, it was almost another like, I don't know if it's exactly like a filler.
It was absolutely filler.
It was just superfluous.
Cringy in some areas, yeah. Superfluous plot, exactly.
And then I want to talk about Act 3 a little bit, because Act 3 was kind of where the movie fell apart a little bit in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and let's step back, I guess, for a second. So if we're going to go with the 3-act part, we kind of talked about how, so the first act didn't really start off very well.
Yeah, it was rushed. We were just kind of getting people into places.
Yeah, it was rushed. Yeah, but second act, I guess we felt that it was kind of the best part of the movie. Sort of felt like maybe the whole movie should have felt, where things were sort of feeling almost naturally like they were sort of happening.
It felt very organic.
Direction felt better.
It was organic. Characters were talking. We were taking the time to establish what each character wanted, the motivation.
And then the third act.
And then the third act happens, and it starts off with the showstopper, which is her big number where she just kind of gets a vacuum musical number. And then we have a whole speech she gives to the captain of the guard, who didn't have her name before now.
Yeah, this is good. This is a good, yeah.
And then,
this is weird.
And then, whereas in like the original, like we have this whole thing where Jafar has the title, and then he says, "I'm not powerful enough. I want to be a sorcerer as well." And then he like banishes Aladdin. Instead, it kind of all just happens in the course of like 2 minutes or so for what was about 15 minutes in the animated version. And then at the ending, we don't really have tension, you know, like in the original, I remember like the whole hourglass thing where there's like a literal ticking clock of Jasmine's going to die if he can't outsmart the sorcerer. Jafar turns into a giant snake.
Yeah.
And then none of that happens. So he just kind of puts it into like magic
Force
bubbles,
field.
magic bubbles, and then Aladdin's like, you know who's better than you? That blue guy. Like, oh shit, you're right. Make me a blue guy.
It was not great.
No. Also, yeah, going back to the whole captain of the guard thing, that was just a total waste because the guard 180'd in like under 2 minutes.
They were killing time. And yeah, I think that with how complicated like bloodlines are and how you have to have a whole line of people who were Sultan in family before that, you can't have a guy who just changes his clothes and says, "I'm Sultan now."
Oh, Sultan. I mean, hey, wish the man.
Which I think that I don't want to give like script advice because I'm not that person to do that. Like, I'm not qualified. But I think that this is one place where I can safely say maybe don't have all the guards in the same room when he declares himself Sultan, because that raises a lot of really hard questions to answer. Like, do they obey him? Do they follow the bloodline instead?
Right.
Is the Sultan the guy who's just wearing these clothes?
Yeah.
Who wore it best?
All right. Well, overall opinion of the movie then. Feel free to take as much time as you like. Just talk at length about what you liked, what you didn't like, and your overall thumbs up or thumbs down. Brandon, let's start with you.
Better than anticipated, but, not as good as it should be. That's my intake. It's like Nick said. They built the whole movie around the Will Smith character, which was a mistake, because, it's Aladdin. It should be, for all intents and purposes, about Aladdin, but it was not. Not as much as it should have been. How about you, Tom?
Overall, better than I expected initially going in. But I think a lot of that really is, it's like, I'm just pleased Will Smith was better than I thought he was going to be.
Right.
And it is something where I wonder, when you talk about the script and was it the direction, the editing, like what happened? Because I feel like, was there at some point maybe some, like we talk about the first and third act being a little off, like what happened? And that's not with any movie, I guess. Like, what happened in between all that movie making that really sort of made it so disjointed?
But I mean, with those kinds of dissections, there's always a million places you could go.
Right.
It could be corporate interference. It could be the director. It could be the script. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But in this case, I think that it's part of it is everywhere that it deviated from the original source material, it suffered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if I were thinking about it in full as just like, if you were going to treat it, again, it's always like tough to like, how do you treat this movie versus other movies, but it started to kind of go thumbs down overall. It wasn't that great of a movie, but for what it was, I would still kind of say like, it was alright, Give it like do you guys do ratings out of 10, 5, A, B,
no,
thumbs up, thumb down?
I tend to avoid doing those kind of number ratings because they mean nothing.
Yeah. I would, did you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down, Brendan?
Oh, I give it a
middle thumb.
That's what I would do too, a little middle thumb.
How about you, Nick?
Yeah. All right. I think that, from my opinion, we're breaking it into two parts: as adaptation and as standalone film. So, as an adaptation, it suffers greatly. It misses a lot of the pacing that came from the original. Robin Williams is still the slightly better genie, despite Will Smith being good. The third act falls apart because of how much they want to deviate from it. And overall, the original cartoon is definitely the better experience of the two. And as a standalone film, it has pacing problems. It moves very quickly. Characters sometimes do things without motivation. There's one scene in particular I remember where Aladdin is frustrated with a genie and he's kind of rambling about how I'm a prince now, I deserve all this, and then he goes into the streets to wander around so he can get robbed.
Yeah.
Like it's a problem these movies have a lot, is where a character needs to be somewhere for the plot to move forward, but they don't know how to put a character there, so they just put him there.
Right.
I think that if I think about this as an original film, I wouldn't recommend it because aside from the parts where I have nostalgia or where I liked certain things that came before it, this movie doesn't have what it takes. Will Smith is good in it. I like certain elements of it, but it's overall not a good enough movie for me to recommend.
Yeah, I think, especially after your breakdown there, I do feel the same way. It's one of those where I don't know if it's because, obviously being an adaptation, it's hard to, make a new movie that is good, that's different in enough ways that, so I get it. It's a tough thing to do, but overall, not the best.
Two more things. One, I'm kind of amused by how we all have this collective sigh that Will Smith was actually good.
He was unexpectedly great. I legitimately enjoyed his performance.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta root for the guy.
He got the CGI budget thrown at him. He got scenes elongated just so he'd have more time to shine, and that all worked.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I think that's part of why the first the two scenes I was talking about with meeting Jasmine and having the song about street rat being caught by people. I think that was shortened just to give that extra 5 minutes of Genie time when he's before the Prince Ali song and after he gets out of the cave. Because there is that little section where they're just in the desert talking for a while, and that works.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's quirky. It's fun.
I just remembered. There is one very important line I was watching for in that first song to see if they changed it or not, and they did. Which there's a scene where Aladdin's running along, he's saying he's talking about something, and then they say, "Cut him open, get it back, guys." But in this one, they say, "Cut the bag open, get the bad guy."
Lyric change. Keep it clean, folks. On a final note, my final point: keep an eye out for Guy Ritchie. That guy, he's not a good writer.
Guy Ritchie. I don't think he's a bad writer by any means. He's good at adapting material, but when he has to go off on his own for the material, it's not quite as good as what he's adapting. There are screenwriters who are very good at adapting things, but don't do great when they're forced to go off on their own from the source material.
Sherlock Holmes 2009 was that. I mean, well, also the guy from Uncle, but
yeah, and I guess I'd have to see.
Man from Uncle is great.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess the other thing would be just it was. I think one of the just weird sticking points of the movie was this weird and again I don't know if it's the direction or not, but you have this sort of musical but not musical.
Good
kind
point.
of smashed together.
Yeah, it's in the middle. You're right thinking about that because it doesn't have all the musical elements where we would have a lot of emotions and things coming out of the musical numbers that we couldn't display otherwise. But we also have the movie where it's forced to have these musical numbers and just kind of come to a grinding halt for the plot to have a musical number.
Yeah, and I think honestly, if I go back 5 minutes here and just totally flip-flop on my words,
yes,
I think honestly the nostalgia really keeps up this movie. I think that's why my initial review is it's all right.
Yeah.
It's really the nostalgia for me that's holding it up, because if you start to look at it kind of further away, more objectively,
right.
What? And some of the parts that were just so bad, the scene that Nick mentioned earlier where Aladdin is sort of just going. It was just getting upset, his Breaking Bad moment where he's running out. It was just bad, so bad. And there are a lot of those moments in the movie.
My thought is, if he was having this moment where he's like, "I'm a prince, I deserve to be here," why would he immediately go to the streets and take the palace?
Yeah, and I think you make an interesting point about just getting characters to the right location for the sake of the plot.
It happens.
But
I've done it a lot.
Totally, yeah. But it wasn't handled well, and just those moments definitely really sink. I think the overall, the nostalgia really does a lot. But
it does.
As I look a little bit further away, it was
The kids enjoyed it, but a lot of us did kind of go for this sense of nostalgia.
And Will Smith does save a lot of it. Will Smith, I think his performance really makes it a much more enjoyable movie, surprisingly. And I think because in part that it was so surprising, it really is that much better for us in particular.
He revitalized some of the nostalgia.
If we want to talk about what this movie did good in places, I think the set design was on point in a lot of places.
Oh, yeah.
And the costume work was pretty good overall. It fit the scene.
Yeah, it did. And I will say, especially being a cartoon adaptation, I think it did that well, where it wasn't too real almost,
Oh, sure.
and it still had that sort of like fantasy,
Dreamlike, yeah.
fairy.
Except for
element.
Abu's creepy old man face.
Oh yeah.
Which,
Well, we can talk about that for a second.
yeah, but why not? I think that if we're going to talk about cartoon adaptations, I think that, and I've made this point before, but I think that part
animals.
of the big strength of cartoon adaptations is animals.
Yeah.
Because they get to have human eyes, they get to be much more expressive, and we get to generally see the animals doing things that they're not allowed to do in live action movies. In this one, they don't get to do that, so the
Right.
parrot comes off as like kind of this uncanny valley of, is he intelligent, is he malevolent, or
Right.
is he just repeating things? And then Abu is in the same place of, is he just a stupid monkey that grabs things because he's a stupid monkey, or is he Aladdin's friend? Because in the cartoons we know that Iago is malevolent. We know that Abu is both kind of a dumb monkey, but also just an impulsive person as a whole.
Yeah, I think that is. It's another good point about.
And Raja
yeah.
as well. Like Raja has some character in the animated one, whereas in this one he's just kind of Jasmine's tell that, oh, I can trust this guy because he likes the way he smells.
Yeah, the animals in live action, the CGI animals.
And that's
Means a lot.
And that's what's got me worried about Lion King.
Gosh,
Because it's
can't-
all animals.
You gotta love Disney's just going like, fuck it, let's just make live action of everything we made 20 years ago.
No kidding.
You gotta love their genius.
That's my genuine worry is with the trailers, what we haven't seen is any animals talking. We never see a one that move its lips. Except for Timon, but you know, that's because meerkats look like people, so they can do that.
Yeah, that'll be great. I can't wait till you guys review that.
Can't wait.
Hope
Well, we should get her to join us.
I'll come along for that.
Fantastic.
Oh.
Alright, yep.
Any other closers? Are we all good, gents?
I've got nothing else.
I'll just say thanks for having me, guys. This was fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
it
a lot of
was
fun.
fun having you. We'll hopefully try and incorporate you into future projects. And in
Yeah.
the meantime, we'll see you next movie, folks.
Yeah, bye everybody.
See ya.